What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Oregon Ducks live show right here on the Voice of College Football. Yeah, this is Sun Devils week, something we don't really look forward to most years by any means. And we got our normal panel here. We got the Dilly lover, Spaz, tonight, and Derek is back. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Glad to be back.
So we all know that we're going to get into the USC recap, and we're going to, preview ASU. But the big news of this week was, of course, A&M pulling the metaphorical trigger and blowing $75 million to tell someone not to come back to work. What a life. What a life that must be like.
Jimbo's sitting on the best retirement plan known to man. He's set, man. He's good to go. That is the most enticing way to get fired I've ever heard of in my life.
That phone call for me would have been like this. 75 million. Don't come in tomorrow. All right. Peace.
Right?
That's it.
God.
I'll come in like 2 days from now, clean out my office. That's it. I mean, like.
Yeah, that's and it's like, it's a coveted job. It's obviously in the SEC. It's one of the top 3 schools in the nation in terms of, disposable revenue, well-known oil boosters, a lot of, boosters in general to the athletic department. So Texas A&M's an enticing job. It's in a hotbed recruiting area. It gives yourself an instant pipeline. So whoever comes in there, regardless, one is going to have at a minimum the skeleton of a talented roster, and to an immediate boost likely to whatever recruiting situation they just came from, barring, a change that we're not expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it had been on the table. I think the conversation about it had been out there for probably, since last year, especially. And then this year gave him an opportunity to do his thing. Hasn't worked out. They had already planned it like a week beforehand. With that type of money involved, you have to pre-plan those types of endeavors with your boosters. But again, that leaves now this huge coaching void. And obviously, multiple names have come up. And as usual, as always, Oregon's head coach comes up all the time. So let's just recap. So I always love this too, because everyone says, hey, Oregon's a jumping school, go there, do good, go bigger.
Stepping stone.
Well, yeah, stepping stone. There you go. That's the correct term. And then when you tell people the facts, they go, oh, maybe never mind. That makes more sense. Because again, you had Rich Brooks, Mike Bellotti, Chip Kelly. That lasted 34 years between those 3. Chip Kelly went to the NFL. Mark Helfrich got fired. That's not a stepping stone. He got fired. Willie Taggart left for FSU, his dream job, after 1 year. And Mario Cristobal, after 4 years or whatever, he left for his alma mater. It makes sense to go to your alma mater. Totally got that.
He went to go take care of his mommy.
Well, yeah, be closer to family, all that stuff. So, but with Lanning, there is no connections for the most part outside of Georgia. His family is all settled in Eugene. He has 3 kids. I don't see why he would be like Texas A&M. Hell yeah, outside of purely money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Here we are again. This coaching shit.
You know what they say, money talks. I mean, it makes sense. I think more so what it is, it's like a program like Texas A&M, they're almost doing themselves a disservice if they don't reach out to people like Dan Lanning, and, some of these hot coaching, people they want. It would only make sense to give them a call, at least, put the feelers out there, kind of see where their head's at. If not, no big deal. You kind of move on. Like I said, it's a coveted job. So it's something, you're still going to find a hot candidate for. But yeah, it's like it just kind of pulls Oregon fans right back into what we've seen time again with, first Willie Taggart dipping out and then Mario saying, I'm here at Oregon, you're going to have to drag me out of here kicking and screaming. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, by the way, headed to Miami. And, it shocked a lot of Oregon fans at the time and it sucked. We kind of felt like we were sitting dead in the water at a point. But then here comes this man, Dan Lanning, and it's like, it's one of those situations that almost feels like it's too good to be true in terms of what we got, just after Mario, it was truly a blessing in disguise. And then, the minute his name gets mentioned again, Oregon fans want to freak out. And it's cool. I get it. I really do. It's like, but at the same time, you really got to take a look at the context of the individual situation here, so it's like, well, obviously I'll jump right to Monday, the Monday presser, it was addressed. Somebody was going to have to ask the question, right? And then I'm sure all of us saw it here. I'm sure everybody else who's watching has probably seen the video pop up on their socials at some point, but Dan Lanning basically came out here and he said, there is 0% chance. He's like, I am here. This is where I'm not going anywhere. He's like, we're building something here. Da, 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 da. So he like really reaffirmed it. And, a lot of what it is it was kind of met with, obviously you're going to be met with trolls and such, but it was also Texas A&M fans were like, oh, that's what you have to say. Da, 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 da. But then I'm sure we also saw the same clip where it was like, it played the Willie interview, it played the Mario interview, and it played the Dan Lanning interview kind of addressing this very same question. And the Willie and Mario, they attacked it one way. They said, I don't want to talk about it. Nothing's going on. Da, 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 da. Well, they dipped, right? And then Dan Lanning looks in the camera and he says, I will say it till I'm blue in the face. I'm not going anywhere. So
he reiterated it today again on the ASU preview. And he said straight up, like, people don't understand what we have here at Oregon, the backup, the facilities, the support, everything. He's like, why I don't need anything else. Now, that's all kind of coach speak. In some degrees of a polite way of dealing with it, but I just don't see it. And like LW saying here, that's what we just talked about before we went live. If it was Georgia, I would be like, that I could see, but outside of Georgia and even Bama, maybe it's like I don't see why. Outside of money, purely money.
And Lanning has proved the whole way through it's not even about money for him. He even as much as said that yesterday when he said, I am very well compensated and taken care of here. I have zero reason to uproot for any which way or form. And he even addressed the Georgia-Alabama situation type too. He was like, unless, even if something crazy came up, it was my total dream or my home or something. He said it's too early. You can't just go, oh, whoop, and because you're going to get pegged. And so if you build something and build it over a sustained amount of time, and then a prolific job or something comes up 5 years, 10 years down the road, then you could take a look at that job and go, well, maybe, I'm kind of gotten to the plateau here. There really isn't anywhere else for me to go any more higher or anything. So maybe I'll go try and fix this over here. But to just come in and go whoop and bounce, it is no good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good on you. It doesn't look good on your school. Oregon got hit pretty freaking hard when Cristobal left in a number of ways. Even got hit by the alums, as I believe we brought that up a few weeks ago, the letter that Achille and Joey and everybody wrote to
the Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, to the president of Oregon, and was like, what is this Dan Lanning going to do? You couldn't get anything better. And now they're like, oh, we were way wrong. We were way off. This is great now.
Well, and one thing is, like Willie Taggart left after 1 year for his quote unquote dream job. He had already been a head coach at Western Kentucky. So it's not like he hadn't been a head coach. This is Dan Lanning's first job as a head coach. Oregon gave him the shot. And then you look at the numbers. Yes, A&M has a lot of money. We all know this. Every A&M fan in the fan base will tell you how much money they have from their boosters. But when you pay a man $75 million to not come back to work, then Dan Lanning has a $20 million buyout. That is $95 million immediately they would have to spend just to even get him to
Before
go there.
you even
Then they would have to raise his salary. And Oregon is not paying him like top dollar right now. But if it came push to shove at that point, how much money does A&M actually have to dish out up front? And then how much will Oregon and the boosters or Phil Knight cover to keep him?
Well, and even at that, what it is at the core, say in some crazy world, we did get to that situation where it's an all-out bid war, Oregon versus Texas A&M, Nike versus the oil money straight up. What they're really doing at the core is they're bidding over a second-year head coach. You know what I mean? I understand Dan Lanning. I love the man. Obviously, we praise over him every week. I think all three of us here absolutely love the man. And, I pray he's with us for an extended period of time. But once again, he's still a second-year head coach. So I don't see a university coming out here and saying, I'm going to give him 10 years. I'm going to give him, averaging on like $15 million, $20 million, $30 million a year. I just don't see it happening. It doesn't make a lot of sense, regardless of what the narrative.
Unless A&M wants to risk taking that chance again. Because when they gave that to Jimbo, even I was like, why?
And they were about to
all guaranteed too. Not even like, here's this contract. Your buyout though is like $30 million if we get rid of you. It was all guaranteed. I'm like, that's stupid. Like that's ridiculous money. I don't know what Dan Lanning's actual salary is. The most A&M would do is maybe jack it up like $1 million, 1.5 million maybe. I don't think they're going to be going that level with Jimbo, like Jimbo level, like 10 million, 11 million a year. That would be. I mean, if they do, bless them. But
the problem, and here's the funny thing about that too, is I've been listening to some of their stuff too. And, right before Jimbo signed that extension, there was talks. There was only like a year left on the deal, on the initial deal. They were more concerned that he was going to leave possibly. And then a year and a half later, they fire him.
Yeah. It's just
after giving him a $75 million extension. Why the fuck did you give him the extension if you were going to fire him a year later? It's stupid.
It's such a big risk. Regardless of who it doesn't matter. I don't care if Nick Saban comes over there. There is zero guarantee that they will ever win a national championship, that they'll ever be successful. There is never a guarantee in college athletics. And it doesn't make sense to tank your universities, what you have in the well, to tank it for one man who may or may not bring something to your school. I get it. He was a great coach, won a national championship, went back to the college football playoff a second time, had a Heisman winner. He's been a successful dude, won a national championship as a coordinator at LSU. Like, he's been a successul dude. I get it. But
he rode crab legs all the way to the trophy. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go ahead and change it. Now we're talking. I wore it Saturday, but I'll put it. I had to throw it back on again tonight.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was very nice to see that Saturday night.
But I mean, that's why I'm saying text them how much are you going to stretch, but also think Oregon's moving to the Big Ten. Lanning is building this team. Now we're going to move to the Big Ten. We're not going to get full money for a few years, but every year it's going to increase. So think if the boosters covered that little extra for, like, say, an extended, like, 2-year contract, especially if he goes to the playoffs this year, even if we get out the first round, they will probably give him another contract extension for at least 2 more years. And that'll probably be upped. Well, think with Big Ten money about to start coming in, Why would he jump somewhere where he has to start all over again? You know, coaches do dumb things. I guess they have their own drive. And what was the best comment I saw on one of the streams is like, who knows what coaches want to do? They all want to win. They're all just psychopaths in some way. I mean, it's true. I mean, they all have their own objectives and ulterior motives, but
Yeah.
Did you guys see the video this morning of the fired Ken Dorsey throwing a fit in the booth last week in Buffalo?
no.
He's slamming his clipboard, throws his headset down, he's punching walls, flipping out. He was just going insane. And then they fired him a week later.
Whenever I hear about coaches throwing a fit, it's still the greatest memory of Mario is in that, I think it was Cal game. They scored a touchdown or something that got a penalty, and he did the headset smash. The Mario smash on with the camera fully on him. He just threw it, and it flew and like hit an assistant behind him. He threw it so hard.
Mario. Yeah. I love a good freak out. You know, you see Dan freaks out in a very different way, though. You know what I mean? He looks calm and composed when he needs to be, but that man is always on 10. Always.
He's not afraid to grab. He's not afraid to grab a player, pull him to the side, and yell at him,
and
when
and then let you go.
Always on 10.
Yeah, and just move along. Like Spaz sent that thing, and that's the one thing is, like Dan Lanning also has a family. They have settled in Eugene. His kids are growing up. Does he want to uproot them? He seems very family oriented. He already uprooted them to move all the way from Georgia to Oregon. Does he want to go Oregon all the way to Texas? Again, money talks. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I just don't feel the connection. Mario, you got Miami. Alma mater. You got it. That was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Well, and what, Dan Lanning going to leave us for William Jewell College? No, yeah. You know what I mean? And even Alabama and Georgia, you know, though, like, I get it. He coached there. Don't get me wrong. Won national championships, been there. But at the same time, at the very same instance, that was really like a blip on the map. You know, he was a year to 2 years. What was he? 2 years at Bama as a GA, moved over to as a DC role for, I believe, another 2 years. But he kind of talked about it in that hour-long interview that we could all kind of watched. You know, he's like, yeah, there were stops. I always knew I had to keep building until, you know, it felt right, basically. And I don't know, like, we just have no reason to believe it's going to change. Everything he said has been right, you know, in terms of what we wanted to hear, how he said it, like how definitively he says what he says. I'm not worried about it, honestly.
I mean, I do. And
JJ.
And he said even openly, how well have other Oregon coaches done when they've left Oregon? They've usually all pretty much tanked. He's like, why would I risk a good thing?
Well, why would I risk the curse continuing on?
Yeah. I mean, Chip going to the NFL, that was one thing. That was an upgrade in the sense. Take the shot at the NFL. You can't blame a coach for definitely wanting to go to the NFL.
And Chip and Mario are definitely both on the hot seat right now.
Chip definitely apparently is. There's a word. They're looking to fire his ass. I am so happy we did not recycle a coach. That's what pisses people off about Oregon is we don't recycle coaches and we still find success. And look at it like A&M. Spent all this money. Absolutely fucking nothing for it. Except for owing $75 million.
Sad.
Well, here's a question for you guys, hypothetically. Okay. UCLA fires Chip Kelly. In the summertime or sometime between now and the beginning of next year or whatnot, a coaching position, because we know more are going to come up, and somebody decides they want to come grab Willie Stein.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides to taken off or somewhere.
No, we're not taking Chip Kelly as an OC.
Chip's not coming back.
We're not taking him as an OC. If that's where you're
Completely
going with this.
different philosophies, completely different approaches, completely different coaching styles. No way. Zero.
If
Zero
that's where you're
percent.
going with this. No.
I just
God,
thought
no.
I'd throw it out there, you know.
Yeah, I that's one thing I appreciate. Like when Oregon was interviewing Wilcox, and I was like, for the love of God, if you hire Wilcox,
And
I
that's
might
who
not watch the season.
and that's who the players in that letter they were wanting. They were wanting
Well,
Oregon to hire.
I
Wilcox.
understand they wanted an inside man, guy with a connection. Totally understood why, because that's how we've always done it outside of Taggart, really. Because Mario had been there at least a year, the players wanted him, but I'm like, Wilcox has done nothing. That just seems like it would be a disaster. So, I at least the administration.
What about
sucked it up
Scotty
there.
Frost though? He's available.
I think it's very much the same way, where it's like it's a very different approach, very different philosophies.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see for the offseason for this, because I don't think anyone's coming for Stein immediately, because again, this is his first full year of actually being the OC. Now, granted, same with Dillingham, but Dillingham had a little bit more involvement under people. Plus, ASU was his alma mater also.
Right.
So there's those differences where when it's your alma mater, you kind of get why coaches do that. You kind of understand.
Yeah, I think I don't worry about Stein. I think Tosh is the only one, just because Oregon's defense is drastically improved. With that being said, an early prediction: I don't think he's going to leave.
Hey,
I think
what?
Tosh.
I think the staff stays in place for at least a second year, another year with Stein and Tosh, or a third year with Tosh, but second year with Stein. I just see that if A&M came calling for Lanning, I think the boosters would just say, what are they offering? All right, we're going to match this. We're going to make that money back come Big Ten money anyways.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
I don't see at this point,
Unless
even if
it's
they have to
major
expense it for a
school.
few years, so to say, they'll make that in return back, basically. I don't know.
Is
I don't wanna think
LW
about
for real?
The what?
Is that a joke?
What?
Right? Taggart's the running back coach for the Ravens.
I thought he was at FAU.
No, I'm pretty sure he has an assistant job somewhere. Yeah, I think he's in the NFL. I really.
Oh, let
Maybe it
me
is.
look, because I've not been keeping up. Oh, yeah, he is he's the running backs coach for the Ravens.
Oh shit!
Huh?
Yeah, do you
Interesting.
guys remember he was rumored to be on Deion's staff at Colorado this season, and then that kind of fell apart before their staff got intact.
Interesting.
So
Actually,
Deion was trying to bring him on.
What's that?
Deion was bringing him on.
That was just a rumor.
Okay.
Really was.
You're right, Raymond. That's what it was. It was Tom Herman's at FAU. That's who I heard was at FAU the other day. It was Tom Herman. That's what it was. I couldn't remember who it was. I was like, Sean Lewis is the big name that's been going around for coaching jobs. Since he got
That guy
demoted
that got
in Colorado.
fired.
He got demoted. He didn't actually get fired. I don't think he got demoted.
Yeah, he's still on staff. He just
He
got
demoted. Yeah.
I
He's
thought
not the
he
play
got
caller
fired.
anymore.
So Deion just stripped him of play calling?
Yes, and put Shermer as the play caller.
What a fucking idiot.
Well, it did work this last game, but they still lost. So, sucks to be you, Colorado. I don't have to get a Buffalo tattoo. That's all that matters at the end of the
no
day.
sympathy.
But I mean, Lewis
No
wasn't
sympathy.
calling. It wasn't his offense. It was the issue. It was their defense. Mr. Defense Deion. It wasn't his. It isn't his offense that's the issue. His offensive line a little bit, but his offense is not the issue. It's his goddamn defense.
100%.
Fire or demote your offensive coordinator like that. That just looks bad.
Well,
That
since
looked horrible.
since Colorado's not going bowling this year, most likely, no one gives a shit. And Oregon already destroyed Colorado and on national television, took their pride away. That really derailed Colorado's season. That was the first blow to Colorado. And Derek, you weren't here, so what do you think? As we just do a quick recap here, obviously there's not a lot left to talk about it. As we talk about the USC game, do kind of a recap here, offensively, defensively. You weren't here, so what do you have to think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, I have zero complaints. This is another week where I think Oregon did exactly what they needed to do. You know, you can look at the score and be like, oh, they only won by 9 points. The way I'm looking at people saying that is you're beating a team with a Heisman Trophy winner at the helm by only 9 points. Like, you do with that what you will, you know? So in reality, the Oregon defense played phenomenally. I mean, you know, obviously there was a penalty that kind of led to a late USC score at the end of the game. Realistically, there was a chance that they got shut out in that second half. Oregon's offense, they moved the ball at will. I mean, we saw Bo Nix's first 2 passes obviously went for long touchdowns. Bucky was efficient on the ground. Jordan James picked up some big yardage. Both Tez and Troy Franklin had heydays. Bo tossed 4 touchdowns for over 400 yards. So, I mean, the game was great. I have zero complaints again this week. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. I don't think they lost any style points, if you will, for not beating them by more, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, again, you know, going back to Saturday, the only thing that was, you know, is just the.
You leave Camden out of this. You leave that poor man's name out of your mouth.
I will say the damn penalties.
Mm-hmm.
13 penalties Saturday. That's the only reason. And even the USC guys on their channel said that, you know, if it wasn't for all them egregious penalties, you know, we probably lose this game by 30.
They were untimely too. That's something we really haven't seen since the Texas Tech game, where we are seeing untimely penalties. You know, we are seeing penalties on 3rd and long, personal fouls. We are seeing, you know, roughing the passers. We are seeing X, Y, and Z. It was just
false starts. My son was there, and he said there was at least 4 egregious, horrible calls, including the one on Florence. The PI on Florence was just horrendous. It wasn't even close. Should never have been called.
Well, there's always those calls too. So that's why we say, even out of say 13, if they had eliminated 5 of them, then you have an egregious call, 1 or 2. You're like, okay, then you know, okay, we only have this, but that many calls, especially again at home, false starts. Why are we having all these false starts? I get it, you know, the O-line is still new, but this late in the season at home, that should be something that
plays coming in late on the headset. There's, you know, guys coming in and out on switches, you know, could be part of it, you know, but it's
I think a decent portion of it is the O-line. They do a lot of stunts. They're doing a lot of traps. They're doing a lot of pulling of the guards, pulling of the center, which is obviously, you know, we know that's very difficult to do. But I think part of it is that they're trying to get that extra fraction of a second head start. You know, obviously you need it as a pulling guard. These guys are quick. I think that's part of it. I think another part of it is Oregon runs a lot of mechanisms where there's a lot of motions pre-snap. There's a lot of adjustments at the line. I think that's part of it. But
that Nick's changing the play at the line last second, him calling a different play, or, you know, like a last second protection, he sees something. And then we talked about it like last week or the week before about the center when he snaps. When Johnson snaps the ball, sometimes he snaps it as he's going forward. Like, he's already in motion. He doesn't snap then go. He's like already leaning forward when he snaps it. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know what the timing is. I guess that's that. Yeah, they're trying to get that jump. I'm going to guess that comes from the training, you know. But it's
Well,
like,
it's been
it's just
highly
kind of a
effective.
weird motion that he makes sometimes. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those things that, we've been talking about it since week 2 at Tech, how we're like, oh, the penalties need to get cleaned up, and then we see a couple games where it starts to look better, and then all of a sudden we get a game with 13 penalties for $120. It's getting really late in the season to be completely getting out of this, so I think realistically, if they can cut these penalties in half, if they can really limit the untimeliness of it, that would go a really long way. I don't think they need to be perfect. This team is going to commit penalties. They're an aggressive team. They're a physical team. They run a lot of gadgetry. It's their identity. I get it. But you can't have these personal fouls on third down. You can't have these, penalties to put you second and 20, third and long every other. It's not sustainable.
And I will say, yeah, I mean, we overcame some third downs from penalties or negative play, a couple negative plays, and still overcame those easily for first downs. And even a couple times, even like one specifically, the second touchdown for the 84 yards or whatever. No problem. But you can't rely on that down every time. So you still have to eliminate it. The one thing I didn't care for, and we didn't even talk about much on Saturday, Spaz, was, and I saw some USC people on some other shows talking about this. They were like, Oregon should have scored more, but they were literally screwing around trying gadget plays, like the throwback to Nix for a touchdown. Again, why? Why would you even need to do that in that game? He almost got killed for it too, and didn't even do anything. But I mean, still, stuff like that. It was like, it was like Oregon to a degree was playing with them. Also, that's how confident and comfortable they were. It was really weird. And yeah, that and this, as Raymond says, yeah, I've seen people. I mean, in college, it used to be spiking the ball like after a play would get you a penalty because it was technically delay of game or whatever. I don't know if that's pros now or whatever. Well, Nix does that all the time. So yeah, Ferguson just spins the ball and he gets the unsportsmanlike or whatever. That was one of those dumb calls. I'm like, he just got a touchdown. He just went, and that was it. I don't.
But then Camden kicks it off from the 20, and they get tackled inside the 10.
Yeah, but it's still that's one of those penalties and those extra yardage that's counted on our thing and makes the stats look bad for the team, which it's dumb penalty. Not dumb penalty, but dumb call on that for calling that a penalty. I wouldn't.
Yeah, there was no reason. Yeah, zero.
So that's just one of those ones though. We eliminate those and the stats like look a lot better. So granted that again didn't do anything to us, but yeah, it just looks bad. Spaz, do you have any final comments on the matter, or have we officially downed the Trojans for the final year in the Pac-12?
We put the official final nail in the Trojan coffin.
Oh yeah, that's right. They are no longer even in contention,
and probably on their
title.
Season. Even Tim said Caleb's got one more game left, and that's it.
Oh yeah,
because they're like not, he's not going to play in the Tostitos peanut butter bowl.
Actually, now this would be interesting. The projection today was, as long as USC wins next week, they might play in the Alamo Bowl versus Oklahoma.
Oh shit!
Now, I don't know if he'd play in that one because it's Oklahoma, but that would be absolutely. That's the one everyone wants to see is Oklahoma versus USC.
Wouldn't that just be wild, though? Lincoln Riley against Brent Venables, Caleb Williams versus
Dylan Gabriel.
I
don't think he'd.
I still don't
think Caleb would play in that. They're not going to the Pac-12 title. There's no way to do it now. Basically, they're completely eliminated. I don't think he's going to play in whatever bowl they go to. It is
still a New Year's Six bowl, so I mean,
at this point, I don't think so. Oregon State or Arizona might get that over USC at this point.
Yeah,
They
but it
have they
is.
have
But I guarantee you, though, that they'll want the USC money versus OSU or Arizona because they know USC would travel much deeper.
well, we're gonna have to look at the we're gonna have to look into the bowl ties I think next week, especially after this weekend.
Yeah,
See how a couple of these games play out, like Oregon State and Washington, especially because
because if we
you've
win
got
and Oregon State loses to Washington, then it's official Oregon and Washington, regardless what happens in the Civil War.
and then you have Oregon Washington championship. So you're gonna have those top two, and one might go to the playoff, and the other would probably get the next at large bid. So that eliminates everyone else from getting that potential bid. So we're gonna have to see this week how that all plays out, and that will tell us a lot more of who's going to get what potential bowl tie-in. And I wish I had an alert sound for this, so I'm just going to make this annoying sound for everyone. Wah, 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 wah. We have breaking news from Spaz. Take it away, Spaz.
Breaking this afternoon, about 4 p.m. Pacific. The first round of the Pac-12 versus the Pac-10 versus the Pac-2 or whatever. The big legal battle between Oregon State, Washington State, and the other 10 schools that are leaving the Pac-12. They won a temporary injunction basically against the other 10 schools. What that means basically is that if they wanted to be total dickheads, they could make, regardless, the Pac-12 title game could be Oregon State versus Washington State, regardless, and nobody could do a thing about it. But it's about money, folks, and there's from what I was on a program earlier, from about what I was heard, there's roughly $500 million of monies in the air, that basically the theory is you would charge each of the 10 schools a buyout fee of around 10 million to 20 million per school, and that would go to Oregon State and Washington State into a fund for them to rebuild the Pac-12. That's what everybody thinks is probably going to eventually happen.
Which we talked about. It's more the name rights, which I think most of the schools have said, you know what, you can have the naming rights. We're going to different conferences. If you guys want to retain it, not a problem. Really, it comes down to money, which is totally understandable. I mean, the Pac title, no matter what anyone says, holds a lot of value more than the Mountain West. It just does as a brand,
and it keeps them a Power 5, which gives them an automatic bid into the CFP, which is now next year going to be a 12-team tournament, not a 4-team tournament.
which is something some people were talking about today, was going to be how they're going to do that. Was it going to be I think it was the 6-6 model or the 5-7 model, like automatic for the Power 5s, but now it's technically Power 4 because the Pac technically won't be a Power 5. They're going to have to reevaluate that. That's kind of the unfortunate part. But the other news that you told us about Spaz, besides money and that titling, was if Washington State and Oregon State could screw everyone out of the conference title game, again, as I said, that would be the final Pac-12 screw jobs like finale. That would just be the ultimate screw job finale for the Pac-12. I don't think you could get any better than that. I mean, in the sense, it would just be so comical and funny.
That would just be like the epitome of the end of the pack. It's just such a self-cannibalizing conference. It always has been, and then it would
Literally,
make
two
sense.
teams eliminate everyone else.
Yeah, and it only makes sense
Yeah.
that we end this thing by, killing off any playoff dreams of any Oregons, Washingtons. It only makes sense. No, I was telling Spaz kind of before earlier. I was like, although they could do that, and I'm sure there are people who would be like, just in spite, they would love to see that happen. It's more of an image thing for that particular university and what that means. You know what I mean? It's just like the relationships that you strain, and like I don't know how it works. I'm not a lawyer, but I would imagine there would be other legal battles that would take place. And this thing's not done yet. Obviously, we also touched on it briefly. This is going to be appealed. I believe it's UW. They're the ones who are going to submit the official appeal. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not worried about it in terms of either money for obvious reasons. Oregon's well off financially, and two, just because we're leaving out of the conference. But one thing I was just thinking about was another piece of news this week coming from the Pac is the fact that Arizona is heavily considering shutting down all athletics. I'm sure you saw they're down $230 million in a financial deficit currently. And one thing the university says is there's nothing off the table in terms of that. So although they never come out directly and said we could cancel all of it, that's kind of been a thought. And when that's been addressed in interviews, they've kind of danced around the question saying nothing's off the table. This is a university first. So it's just like, what another $10 to $20 million deficit for a university like Arizona, who is currently battling financial difficulties, what that could mean for them in their program. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot at play here in this little legal battle that's taken place.
Yeah, that's a lot. When you're already in deficit like that, that's a huge extra blow. Even if you're like space out over, say, 4 or 5 years of payments or something like that, that's still a lot of money you have to specifically set aside every year. But that's why we were talking about that UW with the injunction and the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, I think anyone in their right mind would look at that type of thing and go, that's going to take more than the time, like we talked about, till after the season ends. And at that point, it's up to the NCAA and the selection committee, not the conference, to who goes to what game. So
right.
I think that's the whole point. UW is like, no. Because they're like, we're going to get screwed, aren't we? Because they're right there. They have the chance for the playoff. If they got screwed out of a title game, potentially, could you imagine UW fans if that happened? Oh, man.
Wow.
I would be upset for them, and that's saying something.
Those pesky little Beavers. It's more the Beavers. It's not the Cougs. It's the Beavers. We all know it's the Beavers' fault.
Those rat bastards.
That's true. When Spaz breaks the news, it stays broke. That is true.
It's not that bad.
Well, that was entertaining news. Breaking news from Spaz. But we are here for the Oregon Ducks Live because this is Sun Devils week. And as much as confidence we should feel at this point, we also have our doubts as we have to go to the desert this weekend and face Dilly at a very odd time on Fox. I still have no idea why this is on Fox. I really have no idea.
Our last 3 games will now have been on Fox. The USC game, this game, and the Beaver game, Civil War game next week is also on Fox.
Well, this screamed Pac-12 Network.
Absolutely. Oregon was just on Pac-12 after dark. I didn't think they want to. We talked about this last week, and we both figured it'd probably be around this time slot. But we didn't. I don't think we figured it'd be on Fox. Maybe that's where. Maybe that is where the big noon kickoff is going? Are they going to the
That's
desert?
I haven't
I highly
checked.
doubt it.
I doubt it. For that one, I highly doubt they're going to go to some random Big Ten school for
I'm surprised they didn't
Indiana.
pick up the ESPN fumble and go straight to Corvallis. If I was Fox, that's what I would have done. That would have been a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, but we're not the Beavers, so we don't care.
They are going to some random Big Ten school for Fox Big Noon. They're going to Maryland this weekend.
I knew it. That's why
They're
Fox
going
was
to
so happy.
Maryland.
Fox
They
is
want
so
to
happy
report
that
on
Washington.
Jim Harbaugh.
Well, Fox is so happy Washington and Oregon's going, so they can go over there once in a while now instead of all these just random Maryland, Iowa, Big Ten.
No shit, yeah. Instead of going to Bloomington, Indiana, they get to go to, Seattle or Eugene or LA.
Yeah.
So what do we have here though? Because this is it. ASU, and we kind of went over this. ASU we knew was going to be bad this year. After the Herm Edwards debacle. But then they've come out randomly, like lost 15-7 in Seattle to Washington, 15-7, and then beat UCLA 17-7 at UCLA. But yeah, got blown out 55-3 at Utah. So they've been very hit and miss, to say the least. But we have to go to the desert, which has not been a nice place to us.
And I will say this too about Arizona State. Their defense the last 4 weeks has really been, since that Utah game, their defense has really been fired up. Now, granted, UCLA was playing their 7th and 8th string quarterback red shirts.
It literally was. It was their their fourth string quarterback. It literally was.
6th. They have 6. They've now used all 6 quarterbacks on their roster.
I will correct one thing though. The Utah game was actually not this past Saturday, but it was the Saturday before that they got blown out by Utah.
Oh, I thought it was 3 weeks ago. Okay.
No, it was just a week and a half ago. That's why they've been very hit and miss. Like they'll have that Washington game, then they'll get blown out by Utah, then they'll go and beat UCLA, and it's like,
and they'll get blown out by Oregon. Okay, got it.
Maybe yeah, but they've been very hit and miss. But their defense has shown up at times very, very well. So.
And then they'll win the last Territorial Cup and steal rob Arizona of a New Year's Six bowl. I mean,
oh
it
god,
wouldn't surprise me.
The most Pac-12 thing to do,
right?
Arizona will be on a streak. Like we're going to New Year's Six. Nope.
Cut down by the Sun Devils.
I think the one thing is because one of the questions I had for you guys, like, what tricks does Dilly have up his sleeve still? But I think at this point, he's almost had to show everything on film for this team. I think almost at this point, he's almost had to put his entire playbook in motion. But I'm sure he still has some wrinkles and formations. And even Dan Lanning, when they asked him, what do you expect? He's like, well, I expect a creative offense to come against us. So unless he goes swinging gate 8 plays in a row,
Yeah, he's going to have some tricks left up his sleeves.
Well, and the other breaking news this afternoon from that is that Jalen Rashada has returned to practice for Arizona State this week. He's their highly recruited quarterback that went down, I think, in week 2 or week 3. And now he's back, and they're hoping he's going to play this week. And that makes for a little bit of a different quarterback situation for Arizona State.
Well, it definitely does, but Bergdahl has been playing pretty well for them. And I'm wondering if they put Rashad in, if he's rusty, they'd probably pull him immediately. If even risk it too. Because that Bergdahl's been playing most of the season, except for the Utah game when he got injured after I think the second drive or something, he got injured. And then their offense just stalled. So something we're going to have to watch, though. Yeah, quarterback play is going to be important for them.
Yeah, because Jalen Rashada has an arm. That kid could throw it 60 yards on a dime. I watched him play a few games earlier in the year, and he's mobile. He's athletic. He likes to get out of the pocket and move, and he can run the ball as well. So, again, you got another multi-dimensional quarterback. You got to probably at least put a linebacker spy in there just to make sure that he's contained for the most part.
And I think the benefit now is we've played USC, and we contained Williams pretty damn well. He had his moments, like his Caleb moments, where he can move around a lot, but they actually contained him better than I thought we would. Way better than I thought we would.
Lowest scoring game of the season for USC, by the way.
No, other correction. Second lowest scoring the game of the season. Notre Dame held them to 20 points.
Oh,
that was
okay.
I do want to correct myself on that. I said that was the lowest scoring game of the season for USC. I do correct myself. Notre Dame held them to 20. So in the conference, we held them to their lowest in the conference, but Notre Dame held them to 20. So I do want to make that correction.
Yes, Will, you still hold the record for the lowest points for USC this year. Congratulations. It's the one thing you can take from Notre Dame for the season.
Hey, that's not a bad. That's a good compliment to take that type of offense and for both teams and hold them to that type of points. Not bad.
Whereas we'll probably possibly be playing for a Natty. Will, you might be playing for a Cotton Bowl or an Alamo Bowl or a Cheez-It Bowl.
Other random bowl projection. It was actually Notre Dame versus LSU. The Brian Kelly Bowl.
The Brian Kelly Bowl for Will.
This will all change. These are just those projections, but everyone's just lining up, I think, what they want to see, and that would be phenomenal. USC, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, LSU. That'd be phenomenal headlines.
Dude, those would be two great bowl games just for the headlines and
yeah. A month's worth of talking about at least. So what do we have to do though? Because we know Arizona, the state of Arizona, is a death trap for Oregon, not just recently, many years, and for a lot of teams. What are we going to have to do on the road? Because I have a feeling ASU, even the way they are, their fan base is still fired up when they're going to the Big 12. Dillingham, just his first year. They pulled off some good games.
They've won
competitive in a bunch
now, yeah.
And I think their fan base is going to be fired up having Oregon come in. That this is going to be their sellout, home game. What does Oregon have to do?
Section.
But what does Oregon have to do on the road? What are our keys to this game? Because again, the desert has not been kind to us.
Stop the run game. The biggest threat with Arizona State is their running game. Their passing game has not been their greatest. Jalen Rashad possibly might be back this week, which will help their air game a little bit. But you shut them down on the ground and make them one-dimensional where they have to throw the ball. Arizona State does not have the receiver core and whatnot to keep pace of a USC or a Washington receiving core type. So, which you face the two best receiving cores in the conference, and done fairly well against both of them. Really, better than I think all three of these panelists thought against those two schools. and I think you'll be all right. Just stay focused. Stay ready to go. I don't know if you guys saw the hype video that I put on the channel earlier. I sent out for everybody from the Saturday game that went through the whole week last week, and then the game. Just keep fighting. Just keep fighting. And I think that's Dan Lanning's message is just keep fighting and don't lose focus. Don't lose focus. We're on something here. We're on something very, very, very big. And as I said earlier today in another room, I believe in my heart that this year, if that opportunity came, I believe we could have a much better matchup and a possibly completely different outcome against one Kirby Smart and University of Georgia in a natty game.
I tell you, we're not going into projections at this point.
I'm just saying
I don't even want to think about that.
I have faith that it's not, what was it, 53-10 last year or whatever. I have a feeling it'll be a much, much different game this year.
Give us some words of knowledge there, Derek.
Derek's muted. You're muted, Derek.
Yeah, let me. I'm gonna choose to ignore the Georgia part. I'm gonna stick to the Arizona State part for this segment. Yeah, I'm just looking at stats here. Just basic team stats, kind of where they're ranking through the years, throughout this year. Arizona State, they have the 83rd ranked pass offense. Their rushing offense ranks 229 between FCS and FBS. They're only averaging 106 yards per game on the ground. They're only averaging, 244 through the air, 364 total. What they do have a difficult time doing is scoring. I got you. What they do have a difficult time doing is scoring in the red zone. Not a great red zone team. They really have a difficult time kind of capitalizing on long drives, sustaining long drives, tend to turn the ball over a little bit more than usual. So in reality, what Oregon needs to do is play to their standard. Spaz kind of referenced one of the cinematic recaps this week, and something that we've heard many, many weeks throughout these recaps is play to the standard. Oregon has a standard. If they can do that, if they can just play at a baseline, they're going to cruise in this game. Let's be real honest with ourselves here. The talent gap it's wide, regardless of being in the desert. Believe me, I'm typically not one, as you guys know, to come out here and say, I think Oregon's going to blow these guys out of the water, and that's what it is. But I think there's a real possibility that could be one of these games here this week. If their defense avoids penalties, creates a turnover or two, Arizona State's they might not touch double digits. Vice versa, Oregon doesn't commit these, penalties, put themselves in a ton of third and longs, and does not turn the ball over. I have a hard time believing they don't score at least, 35, 40 points. So we don't know what we're getting with Arizona State. They're a team that's kind of hit or miss, as Ben was talking about previously. But I get the feeling that it's not one of those games. It's not going to be one where we come out of the desert shell-shocked and our college football playoff dreams are dead. I don't see that happening this week.
Yeah, exactly.
I do see, the slight, as we have seen this year so far, some of the hangovers. Like, we've been pretty lucky in the schedule so far where we'll have like Portland State, then at Texas Tech, then Hawaii, or like we'll have Washington, then we'll have Washington State. And Washington State was already kind of starting to go down. We have these kind of sleeper games in between the big ones. So we just had USC, then we have Oregon State. Here's Arizona State right in the middle. So I'm not going to be surprised by a little hangover, so to say, and the road game, and then at Arizona State. Like, that's why this one's kind of like one of those. It's that scary one where you think, but then in history tells us differently.
Yeah.
Just like Utah, the difference is in the kickoff time. If this was a night game, I would have a little more worries. Just like at Utah and Rice Eccles, I had a little more worries versus night versus day. I don't know why, but
That's the Jaden Daniels syndrome of when we were at ASU that night, and he had like his coming out party and threw for like 400 yards on us.
yeah,
took our chances away.
Pac-12 after dark and Arizona State is a horrible recipe. I don't care what we're ranked. I don't care how we're playing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, anyone here who watches this and doesn't believe Pac-12 after dark is a thing, it is a thing. It is an actual curse for high-ranked teams on the road or at home. It doesn't matter. It's a curse. It's an absolute disaster waiting to happen.
but also, as we all know, this is a different. This is a completely different beast this year, more so than anything I think I've seen in all my years at Oregon. I don't know about you guys, but this team this year, this coaching staff, top to bottom, and just watching that hype video from the USC game, all the different coaches and letting us inside the coaches meetings for a minute and seeing the coaches going, we're gonna kick their fucking asses, aren't we? I've never seen that at Oregon, and that's something that you see in the SEC and maybe in the Big Tens, and but I've never seen that at Oregon with that intensity from top to bottom, from head coach to position coach, from first string quarterback to water boy. This team just seems so focused, more focused than I've ever seen.
I will say, yeah, the coaching energy level is completely different than Chip Kelly days. Mike Bellotti, he could get hot, but he wasn't the one screaming in the locker room. I don't think much ever. He just didn't seem like the screaming type. The job that the Go Ducks crew has done this year with the Cinemac recaps, I watched it yesterday. So when you sent it today, I was kind of like, yeah, I've already watched it. But yeah, all the background stuff of the locker room talk and the pre-meeting and the halftime stuff, I'm like, yeah, I see why the guys are always fired up, because the coaching staff's fired up.
You can feel that they care, and that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's anything you guys have noticed too, but one thing I notice every time in the post game when they're showing what the locker room's like, and they show Dan Lanning and kind of what is like just a quick synopsis of his post game speech, but he always ends it with he's like, I'm proud of you and I love you guys. You know what I mean? And like this week, his thing he preached, he's like, the love is what makes this team different. We love each other here, and like we mean it. You know what I mean? And it's like that's something I'm not sure. We haven't really had inside access like this before. To this degree, so it's hard to know for certain, but it like you said, Spaz, it just feels different. There's something about it. It's the energy. I mean, Ben, we're just looking at your shirt right now. I've never seen a Mario the Man or a Chip the Man shirt. You know what I mean? That's Dan the Man, the Danimal. So it's different, man. I feel it when Spaz is kind of talking about it. I'm not going to get into potential national championships and that quite yet. It's a little bit early for my skepticism. But what he is saying, I do feel what he is saying when he's like, it just feels different. This team feels focused. They look like they want this shit. They're hungry. I can feel it too. It's just my shell-shocked self still. I'm taking it 1 week at a time.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, it's getting to that point in the season where it's like,
I'm scared. I'm scared, Spaz.
I ain't scared no more. The Washington game.
Oh. I was like, Mark, what trolling are you doing here? I already got my trolls in here. I see Harley Dad. I'm not ignoring you, Harley Dad. I see you in here. But yeah, speaking of Chip,
Yep, I was
remember
right.
Saturday's his last game. Yeah, that's that. We talked about that a little earlier. Yeah, we talked about that a little earlier. The rumors have been swirling that they are no longer happy.
Hey, did you guys see the other thing that showed up after that?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good, Mark. You're good. You're good. Don't worry. Yeah, we kind of had like a carousel talk earlier about the coaching rumors with Dan Lanning, and then
I saw another thing right after the reports started coming out that Chip might be let go after Saturday. Was the picture of Dan Lanning and Dante Manning?
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore. Yeah.
I don't know if Oregon would want to take him, honestly, at this point. I mean, I get it. They would be like talent level, but he's also kind of been soured a little bit.
You know, I understand that. Completely get that. At the very same time, Dan seems like the dude who's a relationship type of man. Yeah, these people need to just hit the fucking like button.
I know it's not like it's like I don't scroll across the bottom of the screen the entire show and forget about it.
Yeah, to be honest, I forgot where we were going with that.
You were talking Dante Moore and the connections.
Oh yeah, I've seen that pop up a lot recently, and like Dan kind of strikes me as a relationship type of dude, so it would not surprise me if he's just kind of, I wouldn't say keeping tabs, but just checking in every few months. Hey, hope you're doing well. Just maintaining a line, So I don't think anything's off the table. I know we've talked about this a few weeks ago, but I don't know about your guys' beliefs and how this is going to run next year, but I truly believe that we're hitting the portal for a QB, and whether that's someone we have a relationship with, like a Dante Moore, or if it's someone who's unbeknownst to us to this point. But I feel like that is happening. We will have a portal quarterback, whether he's our starter or not. That's to be seen.
Malik Murphy is another name I heard possibly linked to Oregon in the offseason because Quinn Ewers apparently said that he's going back to Texas for at least one more year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and keep in mind,
Jalen Daniels from Kansas.
That would be not. I'm sure we'll get into that, but I would like that one personally. Malik Murphy as well. That'd be great. But the portal does open in 19 days for those who don't know. So
I think for Dante Moore, if they get rid of Chip Kelly, I think it's who they're going to bring as the staff. That determines what keeps him there, or if he wants to leave. Like Dante, really, at the end of the day, he went to UCLA because of Big Ten money. NIL. Mm-hmm. He saw the Big Ten money coming.
Sure.
Now Oregon's going. So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if Oregon fans would be extremely thrilled to go, you just said, screw you guys to us. I mean, I get some fans would be like, some fans would be excited. I think there's still other options.
Oh, don't get me wrong. This is not me saying it's an end all be all. What I'm saying is the relationship's there. If something pops up, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like Oregon would be an instant, like, I don't want to say favorite to land them, but instantly in the conversation just because that relationship does exist.
Yeah, the connections are there.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
exactly.
committed to us at first, so I totally understand that.
Yeah, my personal opinion though, that would be phenomenal. He is showing, I mean, we saw it early in the year. He's definitely shown flashes of his arm. We've seen that he's mobile. He's been dealing with a little bit of injuries here, and then he did hit a skid for a couple of games. So I mean, far from perfect, but he is a true freshman at that.
Any year starting a true freshman.
A true freshman
is not a good idea. Not a very good idea.
In the pack this year.
And the guy that got you to leave your commitment here gave up on you and halfway through the season and said, I'm done. I'm benching you. You're done for the year, basically,
Well, and it's not even that too. Ethan Garbers, that man they've been splitting reps. So
he's been pretty good. Our Garbers has been pretty good. Garbers has been pretty steady.
He's a fine, and he still has eligibility. He's going to be back next year. So, I mean, either you're going to do one or two. One of those quarterbacks is likely hitting the portal. Those are two absolutely starting quality quarterbacks. So one of those guys will hit the portal, if not both of them, in my opinion, depending on how this coaching search and
depending on who they get, yeah,
and how long it takes that to play out.
That's the biggest thing is what's the style coming in, who it is. Does he have a connection to him? Do they get along? Does he just like bail out? I'm going to change this show name to the UCLA show. Hold on, let me edit this banner here. UCLA show.
Well, and one thing you're doing while you're doing that makes it tough too is the fact that the Texas A&M job does exist out there, and that is a premier job. That is one of those upper echelon caliber jobs that do exist. So in reality, UCLA, they have to wait before they can make a decision on their quarterback. They can do their due diligence and reach out to whoever they want to, but at the end of the day, as long as this Texas A&M job lingers out there, I feel like coaches are going to be very hesitant to commit to another job if they feel like they have an opportunity to get that job, just because it is so pristine. I talked about the recruiting hotbed they're walking into, the donor money. You're obviously an SEC program.
And they've got like the number 1 or number 2 class next year.
Well, a lot of those guys are probably going to bail.
And we're kind of, so
a lot of people are going to be poaching those two. Plus Mississippi State opened.
Yeah. Our show 3 weeks from today, the portal has been open for 2 weeks or 2 days. I'm sure we'll see some names in there that we look at and go, oh, wow, that's happening. And don't get me wrong, it's going to happen at Oregon too. So I don't want the fans to think that because we see players leaving, it's a bad thing, because I feel like that's also the connotation, but it's one of those, it's a healthy turnover type of thing.
Derek, do you think Ty enters the portal this year when it opens in 3 weeks?
I'm going to be honest. I do. I think if he doesn't feel like that job is his, and they go out there and they're trying to land a Malik Murphy, or they're trying to land a Jalen Daniels, someone of that caliber, where they come in and they are going to be the starter. If they don't bring in someone like that and he has a chance to battle for that, I'm going to guess he stays, just because he's the one who has the familiarity. We have seen him. He's looked significantly better in the limited, snaps we have seen him this year. Like, mind you, small sample size, but with that being said, he's still producing. He looks a hell of a lot more comfortable than last year, and it's another year in that system. So, I mean, if he has a chance to compete for it, I think he stays. If they bring in someone who's going to be a starting quality quarterback right off the bat, I think he's probably going to hit that portal and give himself the opportunity to build a draft stock.
I think he has to at that point, if they do bring in a transfer starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the situation. He's been in the situation like a lot of quarterbacks, like Nick's. He's had multiple OCs now.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't gotten to be kind of settled in, but he does look more comfortable this year. But yeah, if they bring in a transfer to compete for the starting, knowing that guy's probably going to be the starter, I think he's got to go and take at least his 1 to 2 years left somewhere else, I think, and at least give himself a shot.
And I mean, if we're just touching on early predictions for that real quick, my guess here is Oregon's going to be a very hot commodity for the transfer portal. I think people are going to realize really quickly it's an easy way. You can jump into the Oregon portal and you're going to be successful. We've seen it the last 2 years with our transferees. So there's going to be a quarterback who's going to want to lead this Ducks offense, especially if Bo wins the Heisman. Who's not going to want to run a Heisman offense? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, my opinion, I think we do get one of those caliber quarterbacks to come in. So that's why right now I think Ty does jump in the portal.
Which news alert also. Nix is now number 1 in the Heisman race, apparently. He and Penix basically flip-flopped.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little surprising because Penix didn't have a terrible game against Utah. But it's just they've seen the consistency with Nix and gone.
No, but he didn't have a great game either. And that's why. And Bo had his game.
There's still three games left potentially, and that could change very dramatically. All it takes is one off game. But we haven't seen an off game yet from him.
I think it could literally come down to that rematch in the Pac-12 title game.
Yep.
There is so much.
The Bo has this phenomenal Pac-12 title game of 350, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns in the air, 2 on the ground, and we beat Washington by 20 on a neutral site. or vice versa. If Penix, goes up, just torches us and wins by 20, he probably wins it. Oh,
Raymond, why? Well, I'm shutting this chat. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
just on the show.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean,
Go
yes,
to
with a good O line, I think Shador would be pretty good. He just holds the ball so much it just drops back like 10 yards for no reason most of the time.
Dion, he could come be a defensive assistant. Sure.
It's like with a good O line, who knows? Yeah. I mean, yes, Raymond. I know. With a good O line, yes. But he's got to work on some things. There are some things that are just he just does some weird stuff. It's just weird.
Dion scatterbrained for me to even think of.
He's a small guy too. I'd be afraid in the Big Ten he would get
murdered.
He'd get lit up a few times by just imagine some of those Iowa linebackers hitting him.
We'd be calling 911 for attempted murder on a football field.
Gentlemen, any other keys to the game or thoughts on ASU for the Sun Devil week?
Nope, just go down there, do your job. You don't play sloppy. That's it. You don't turn the ball over. Don't commit a ton of penalties. You're going to win this game. So, I mean, I know it's short and sweet, but that's what it is. It's a pretty straightforward game plan this week, I think. Is Spaz downing some ribs right now?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Is he eating ribs?
On the stream? Spaz, are you eating stream ribs right now?
Stream wings.
Oh, stream wings.
Okay.
Oh,
it did look like ribs. I was like,
yeah, it looked long.
Gentlemen, it is the favorite time of the night. Drum roll, please, everyone.
Derek's band.
It is score prediction time. Please, everyone in the chat, let us know your score predictions. I already know Raymond did his. I'm pulling it back up for him. But it's a score prediction time. And Derek did win last week after all of our score predictions were so far off. All of us were way off on that final. But Derek was the closest, so once again, he wins. He leads 5 with 5 points. Sean with 3. Spaz started off strong with 2, but that's it. And I still have 0.
Oh.
Shut up. I'm canceling this game.
In a win.
I'm canceling this game. So, Derek, out of tradition, you won. You have to give the score prediction first.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I came into this just before the show, and I said I had no idea how I was going to take this. I've actually been thinking about it a lot. So I think for my score prediction, I'm going to go 38-13. For some reason, I could see this being one of those games where Oregon kind of slugs it out, maybe for a drive or two, maybe for even up to a quarter. If I'm wrong, phenomenal. I hope Bo Nix does go for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, which he absolutely should in this game. It's just kind of like you're talking about, touching up. We're going to the desert. I have a little bit of trauma watching my Ducks walk into the desert. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to go with.
That's fair. Spaz, what do you have on your
52-17.
52-17.
And that's a little more toward what I truly believe the score will be.
I think that's more than fair. I'm more in line. I kind of cheated this week for an advantage. I'm kind of more in line with Mark here. I'm going to say 42-10. My philosophy behind that I didn't tell you guys is because Landon's not going to run it up too much on Dillingham. He's going to kind of be nice. Like, he'll make his point in the first half, and then he's going to be like, all right, we don't need to rub it in, He's going to be nice to Dillingham, kind of like a lot of former coaches and staff members are to each other. They don't want to insult each other. So I'm going to say 42-10. That touchdown for ASU comes late in the game. And for Sean, he says 0-0. Once again, they're just going to knee the ball all game long.
God dang, I hate when they do
And it'll
that.
be a draw.
Like Kirby,
He was nice. He was nice. Kirby was nice. They could have easily scored more than 49 in that game if they wanted to. They could have scored like they could have scored 70, yeah, if they really wanted to.
No, Mark, Boyle is back practicing this week. They also released that today. So Camden Lewis has some pressure now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going. Again, that missed Washington kick has broken Lewis. I don't know what's going on with him. We talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but I don't know what's going on with him. It has to be like a coaching thing, especially with the out of bounds kickoffs and then the pushing kicks here and there. It's got to be a coaching thing. I'm not sure.
I think he's in his head. I mean, in terms of the field goals, we've seen his field goal percentage absolutely plummet since the UW game. I mean, even early on in the year, he missed a kick that was pretty routine for his. I believe it was within like 35 yards or so. But the out of bounds kicking one, that's a weird one for me. It's, I feel like it's a strategic thing where they're trying to, get it to a certain returner, get it to a certain part of the field. I'm sure it's all about the coverages they're running on these things. But at the same time, like there comes a point where you have to just say, all right, put the ball through the end zone, because we've seen this happen not one, not two. We've probably seen this 4, 5, 6 times this year already.
Yeah. I was saying almost once a game on Saturday. It seems like at least once every game it's kick out of bounds, kick out of bounds.
I do think part of it is like, hey, don't kick to that guy. But I'm like, dude, you're putting it out of the back of the end zone most of the time anyways.
Just put it out of the end zone. Fuck.
He's kicking it like 8-9 yards deep. They're not returning.
Don't worry about trying to position kick away from a returner if you're kicking every other ball out of the back of the end zone. Just kick it out of the end zone.
Yeah, unless he has some tweak or something in his kicking leg that we don't know about, where he's not able to put full power or something. But it doesn't seem that way, because otherwise I don't think he'd be kicking. I don't think so.
But our backup kicker was injured for most of the year, and they did make the comment that he was back at practice today and drilling like 60-yard field goals.
Well, the practice is so different, though, because there are some people who say, oh, they're kicking 65 yards, and then in game they can't make a 40-yarder.
The Clemson kicker.
Yeah, it's like they saved a life. And Mark, that's called sports psychology. Sports psychology. I'm sure Oregon has multiple sports psychologists on their staff. They probably at least have 2 or 3 of those guys.
That what USC is missing. They even admitted it.
They're also missing a special teams coach.
Which is that to me?
No, the sports psychologist is the counselor.
Yeah, I know.
But they're missing this. They need to fire one of their wide receivers coaches. They have USC has 5 wide receiver coaches or some crap like that. Instead of firing one to hire a special teams coach, they just don't have one.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's like something ridiculous. Like, how do you not have a special teams coach?
Yeah,
yes,
that's
that too, Raymond. Yeah, apparently also skipping film. allegedly.
Oh, funny.
It was funny because even Lincoln Riley said, "Yeah, that happens once in a while." It's like, I don't think a coach should ever admit that that's happening, or if he does, he's like, "But we've corrected the situation. At least be stern about it." Like that's not tolerated here. And yeah, exactly, Jason. I think that UW miss messed him up. That one hurt him a lot, and it's just kind of stuck with him. He'll make 1 or 2 here and there, but then he'll miss 2 more. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. It's weird because we give Cam a lot of praise early in the season, especially the Tech game, of how he went out, did his thing, sealed the game basically almost with that final field goal before the pick 6. And
yeah, we're gonna need him. We're gonna have at least 2 more top 10 matchups, more than likely, and then beyond that, whatever's in store for Oregon. We're going to need Cam Newton to come through it. There's going to be a point where we're going to need a clutch field goal, or, you're not going to be able to put the ball out of bounds and give him the ball on the 35. Like, he's going to have to get his shit together eventually if Oregon's going to be a for real team this year.
Yeah, because
that's pretty much what the Fox guys said last week. That's like the only major issue they see in this Oregon team is the kicking game.
Which is funny because, again, before the UW game, it was finally it was like, hey, it's a strength. Finally, we have a guy who can kick 45 yards and we're not panicking. And now we're kind of back to that, like, make sure he's inside the 35, which also could just change the offensive game plan a little bit to get closer, So at the same time, but yeah, he needs to, someone's got to figure it out, sit him down and just be like, hey, don't worry about it. But we're going to have to see how this goes in the next couple of weeks. Maybe he'll get his juice back. Maybe he needs a couple 30, 35 yarders to get his confidence back up. So, score prediction time. Recap. Derek, 38-13. ASU. Spaz, 52-17 ASU.
Oh.
I'm the only one, 42-10 Ducks. Wow. I thought this was a Ducks podcast.
Ben, if it goes that way, this will probably be the week that ASU upsets Oregon. You're sitting at 0 again next week.
If that happens, I will not be on the post game. If it does, like if that would like that anything like that were the final score, I'd be like, I'm out.
I'm leaving. I'm not coming back.
I quit college football. I'm gonna go watch hockey or something.
Mark, you got a new channel to take over.
Yeah, it's all yours, Spaz. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, on this week? News, information, ASU or USC recap?
Not a whole lot. My thing more for this week is obviously we're approaching early signing day coming up next month, so I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the recruiting class. That's my thing. I like recruiting. I did see as of today, Steve Wiltfong, if everybody's familiar, he said in an interview he believes Jason Brown will be heading to Washington over Oregon after Oregon's been a heavy favorite recently, which is interesting just because Oregon's been in contact with Nate Frazier again, Matter Day commit to Georgia running back. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on some things happening there. More than likely, Oregon will land a running back in this recruiting class. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on that one. In terms of this week, no, just like I said, just go out there, execute, do your job. I'd like to see the penalties get cleaned up this week. It's a great week to come out here and kind of get back to the fundamentals heading into the Civil War next week.
Yeah, play that another 4-quarter game like Lanning said against Utah. Have another Utah game. Place you've struggled in the past, and just you come in there and just right out of the gate, and the game's over, and they're just playing to save bodies.
100%.
Bo plays 3 quarters. Bucky plays 3 quarters. Your first string defense plays 3 quarters, and then Ty and the rest of the crew finish it up.
Yeah, I want to see Ty in there by mid third quarter.
Yeah.
Even if he just hands the ball off, I don't care. Just put him in there.
If he's not, there's something wrong. Ty should be in there mid third quarter this week. There's zero excuse at this point. If you're as good as you've been playing and you're that team this year, you go into Arizona State, you go into Tempe Saturday and do exactly what you did at Rice Eccles. And you just, right out of the gate, you get the game over with in the first quarter and punch them in the mouth so hard they just don't even know what hit them, and they just give in because they know they've been defeated.
And Derek, is that a treadmill behind you? Or beside you?
I believe the technical term is an elliptical, but yeah, you're on the right track.
Okay. I just kind of noticed it. I was like, that's a sweet armoire back there. And I was like, is that a damn treadmill? I was just thinking exercise equipment, but yeah, okay. That makes
Thanks,
that makes
John,
sense.
for going in Sunday night. Good show. We had fun. I had fun.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Props to John, also down here, who ran the After Dark show for me on Sunday. I was literally writing notes up for the Sunday night show for the College Football After Dark on the main channel. I was writing all the notes down, and then I went on Discord, and he had already done the whole layout and everything like 3 hours earlier. I'm like, oh, okay.
Nice.
I was literally writing the whole lineup script and everything, and he had already done it. I just added the thumbnail for it, and that was it. I was like, oh, okay. So props to John though, because it looked like you guys had a good show that night. As I was getting literally deafer. The next morning, I didn't even hear my alarm clock. I was still deaf from the concert. I couldn't even hear it.
It's a hell of a concert.
It always is.
What's happening in Ann Arbor, John? I bet your calling show was 5 hours all on Jim Harbaugh. But that was a fun night to deal with.
All right. Whatever. Everyone, tell us where they can find you quickly, even though it's scrolling on the ticker below, but people don't seem to pay attention to the ticker.
Here you go, Spaz. I got you right here. Wait, who's Derek? Follow me on Twitter. I got the point down, so if it's right here.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Yeah, I got it figured out. So, Spaz, what about you? Where are they gonna find you at?
There go. Oh, damn it! I had it. Got it. Not bad. Better than normal. Right there.
Jesus.
My
That's
finger.
him at the Rocky Classic on X or Twitter.
Yeah, at the Rocky Classic on X or Twitter. That thing over there. I'm figuring this shit out slowly.
And that's it. You can find me right there, Exploring with Ben on X or Twitter, or just go to the YouTube channel, Exploring with Ben and Sam, right here on YouTube, and you'll find our Twitter and Instagram account linked through there, as well as I think our TikTok. Follow us, whatever. Do whatever you want to do. Well, gentlemen, I think that about does it for us for the night. Thank God. But everyone, please make sure every Tuesday night you join us right here at 9 p.m. Central Time on the Oregon channel on the Voice of College Football. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe. And then make sure you tune in to join us live for the Oregon post games within about an hour following the game. And hopefully no more super late night games except for the Civil War. Won't be too late, but yeah. Oh, shit, in the Pac-12 championship. Damn it.
If you get lucky, it'd be 5 o'clock.
That's true. I was thinking it'd be about 6:30 Pacific. Not too bad still.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We have to get through ASU and Oregon State. Please join us on the Oregon postgame show. And then again, every Tuesday night, right here, 9 p.m. Central, 7 Pacific, for the Oregon Ducks live show. And as for these gentlemen and everyone in the chat, we will see you guys next week. Well, sorry, this Saturday. I'll get this down one day.